Fever dub, you know what's coming. Bow, bow, bow! Woo! Feels good, baby. Making a win, kind of baby. That's a good-looking dub. Woo! Happy days.
The Fever finally got their first win without Caitlin Clark, and you could feel the sigh of relief across Fever Nation.
Today feels good, man.
I never thought I would see the day.
But it wasn't just the win. The vibe was different, the pace was different, and we got a surprise performance from a last-minute signing that's making fans and analysts rethink the makeup of the team.
Is this actually the player that the Fever have been needing?
It wasn't a perfect performance by the Fever, but you get the sense they're figuring things out without Caitlin. In fact, as strange as it sounds, this injury might end up being one of those moments that changes everything. Not because it was good, but because of what it revealed. Some of the biggest turnarounds in sports, championship runs, dynasties, started with a setback no one wanted. And while I'm definitely not planning a parade yet, it's becoming clearer by the game. We may be headed toward a very different outcome for Caitlin, the Fever, and even the league than if she had never strained that quad in the first place. Let's unpack exactly what changed, what everyone's saying about Aari McDonald, the Fever's standout emergency signing, and what happens next. But first, like this video if you're glad the Fever are back in the win column, and subscribe for more Caitlin Clark and Fever updates.
And Melbourne's three won't go, and the Indiana Fever earned their third win of the season.
The Fever's win against the Mystics was exactly what Fever Nation needed. Because after that shocking loss to the previously winless Sun, Fever fans were concerned to say the least.
I never thought it was going to happen. I never thought it was ever going to happen again.
The entire vibe was off. For a team that was supposed to be exciting to watch, they were playing slow basketball, a far cry from the high-tempo hoops we expected. And, to rub salt in the wound, the Liberty dominated the same Connecticut Sun in the next game by 48 points. And to make things even worse, Sydney Colson and Sophie Cunningham, Caitlin's backups, got injured in the same game. Panic seemed inevitable, but that was never the right call. Here's why. All of this adversity reminds me of the parable of the Chinese farmer. That's the one where the horse runs away and it's considered bad luck. Then it returns with wild horses, which is good luck. Then the son breaks his leg taming one of the horses, bad luck. But then the army skips him during a draft because of that injury, good luck. The lesson here is perspective. A bad moment, like Caitlin's injury, can set the stage for something greater. And even if you're not into Chinese parables, just go back to the 2001 Patriots. When star quarterback Drew Bledsoe went down after a brutal hit, a little-known backup named Tom Brady stepped in and never looked back. What seemed like a disaster for New England became a dynasty-defining moment as Brady led the team to a Super Bowl win and went on to become a 7-time champion. Now, I'm not saying Caitlin Clark is Drew Bledsoe or that she'll be replaced. She's going to be just fine and better than ever. I'll get to that in a bit. But the positive outcomes from her injury are going to vastly outweigh the negatives. We're already seeing it. First, let's start with the Fever.
Clark trying to create some airspace. Long three at the horn. Oh!
With Caitlin in the lineup, the Fever weren't playing championship basketball, but were at least staying afloat and hanging with top teams. She made clutch plays and kept them alive, using her vision and creativity to make them competitive. But the offense was stagnant.
The commentators were talking about the Connecticut Sun and the Indiana Fever being the two slowest teams in the WNBA. If you told me that that would be something that was said on the broadcast during any Indiana Fever game, I would have thought you were insane.
And when Caitlin was injured, which was followed by injuries to Sophie Cunningham and Sydney Colson, the house of cards seemed to be collapsing before our eyes. The Fever were knocked down to number 9 on ESPN's power rankings, and analysts were bluntly calling out the Fever's flaws, effort, and strategy.
I'm sorry. There is no way you can have 0 fast break points a team unless you are actively trying to not run.
Of course, this is all negative on the surface. But like with the parable I just mentioned, all of this opened the door to what could be an absolute game changer.
On an 11-2 advantage, miscommunication and stolen by McDonald, who races to the other end and finishes.
They signed Aari McDonald on a hardship contract. Now, expectations weren't high. I mean, nobody's filling Caitlin's shoes, but Fever fans were pleasantly surprised.
Austin got a piece. Bonner thought she was fouled. Oh, but McDonald took it away. Wrap around pass, and Bonner, right place, right time.
Aari didn't just fill minutes, she made a case to stay. She brought pace, energy, and a sense of control. She attacked. She fed her teammates. And for someone who just had one practice with the team, she looked super comfortable out there.
I am telling you, she had one day to practice with this team, and she walked out there, she came out off the bench, she got 7 points, she got 5 assists, she got 3 steals, count them 3 steals, and this two-way player was impressive.
She made a huge impact on not just the outcome of the game, but you could also see the influence she had on her teammates. She made everything and everyone better.
Aari, hell of a job. You came in, you impacted the ball game, you settled us down, you were aggressive, your defense set the tone. Hell of a job.
And fans and analysts were quick to realize that she might be the missing piece the Fever need to be a championship contender.
So the Fever need to do everything they can, everything humanly possible to keep Aari McDonald. You could see as soon as she comes on the floor, everything changes with this team. Everything changes. Their intensity changed. Every little thing changed with this team.
It's to the point where analysts are seeing this as a huge opportunity for the Fever to make even more additions later in the season. And here's why. Not only does Aari fill a gap that the Fever didn't know they had until Caitlin got injured, she also makes $30,000 less than Brianna Turner, a player who hasn't had much impact and whose contract isn't guaranteed.
I mean, you gotta know that Bree Turner's like shaking in her boots, because Bree Turner is not on a protected contract. Her contract is over $80K, so she would free up space. Aari is signed for $51K because it's kind of like prorated for the rest of the season. And tonight, just taking a look at Bree Turner's stats, though she did only play 2 minutes, she came away with a 000.
If they move on from Bree Turner, who isn't getting any minutes, they not only secure a solid backup guard and add much-needed tactical depth, they free up cap space for another piece. Going back to the parable, without Caitlin's injury and the subsequent Colson and Cunningham injuries, we might never have seen Aari. The bad luck created the opportunity, and it was a much-needed solution for a team that was struggling. And that's important, because a thriving and exciting Fever team is essential for the league, and Caitlin's injury is bringing the receipts.
The success of the WNBA rides on the success of the Indiana Fever, and specifically Caitlin Clark.
Caitlin and the Fever bring in the casual fans. But when they're playing slow basketball and losing games, they risk losing them. Because at the end of the day, basketball is about entertainment.
It's the casual viewers that make all this work, not the hardcore fans. It's the casual viewers that are pulling in these big ratings. Oh, Caitlin Clark's playing? The casual is going to tune in.
But we've learned something during Caitlin's injury that we otherwise would have never known. Just how loyal the new Fever fans are. Because there was a lot of concern about TV ratings with Caitlin Clark's injury. After all, she is the biggest needle mover the WNBA has ever seen. With Caitlin, the Fever got 1.3 million people to tune into a preseason game against Brazil. 3.3 million watched the Fever play the Liberty. I swear she'd sell out arenas just to watch her warm up. But the big question was this: would the casuals keep watching? Well, we got our answer.
Fever's matchup on Friday versus the Connecticut Sun, 851,000 viewers, becoming the most viewed WNBA game on ION this season, despite Caitlin Clark's absence. The Caitlin Clark effect continues even when she's not on the court. Folks, this is a big deal.
Without Caitlin in the lineup, the Fever maintained strong viewership. This tells you all you need to know about the Caitlin Clark effect. She didn't just bring fans to her, she brought fans to the Fever. She made this team matter in a way that goes beyond any one player. And we now know this because, even without her on the floor, the ripple effect is real. If Fever fans stay energized through a rough patch, that's the kind of loyalty the league has never truly had before. That's not flash-in-the-pan fandom. That's franchise-building energy. Without Caitlin's injury, we wouldn't have an apples-to-apples comparison to understand this, and it's something the WNBA has to learn from. Here's why.
There was a game, Sparks Aces, 459,000. We could do a backflip. up 25% from a year ago, but 300,000 people said, I didn't watch these teams before for a reason. I'm damn sure not watching these teams now for any particular reason.
Outside of Indy, viewership numbers aren't climbing without Caitlyn. They're standing still. But you'd never know that from the piece the commissioner Kathy Engelbert just wrote in the Harvard Business Review.
Kathy Engelbert, in this long, drawn-out article, goes on and gives herself credit for why the WNBA has finally entered some type of mainstream conversation.
Honestly, this has been the Achilles heel of the league. The ecosystem of the front office, the players, the media, it just cannot fully and completely acknowledge that Caitlyn is the key to the league's success. For example, in the Harvard piece, Kathy spreads the credit to everyone, and, when speaking of impact, lumps Caitlyn in with last year's rookies like Angel Reese and, get this, Cameron Brink, who is still injured. And it's not ignorance. Kathy knows who's bringing home the bacon.
She's a generational talent. No league's ever about one player, but in this case, Caitlyn brought tens of millions of new viewers into the W, and there's no denying that impact.
It's been a common theme that's maddening to the new fans. Everyone knows Caitlyn is the face of the league, but there's so much jealousy directed at her and her fans, who are painted in the most horrible light imaginable. When an accusation is made against the Fever, the league investigates. We saw this after the Fever Sky game. The response was instant and broadcast to the world. Yet when Fever players and fans are attacked online, crickets. No comment from the league. I'm going to get to how this all relates to Caitlyn's injury in a second. But the bitterness has been so bad that women's basketball legends have had to come out and talk sense into the WNBA.
So if we have more eyeballs on the game and Caitlyn Clark brings that, why would we feel some kind of way because she has more television games? I think we have to understand that when one player eats, we all eat. And as we all get more opportunities, it just opens it up for everyone else.
With that being said, you big dummies, you getting paid now.
Right.
Everybody now has an opportunity to pull up their chair and have a seat.
The WNBA as a whole is in an amazing place. Now it's about business to me.
These Hall of Famers care about the game and the players, and they all have the same message. Think about your future, think about the next generation of players, and think about the growth of the women's game, not who gets credit. And if we've learned one encouraging thing from Caitlyn's injury, it's that Caitlyn's fans are now Fever fans, but it takes time to spread to the rest of the league. But when you keep dunking on them, they can't fall in love with the league. Their fandom is not guaranteed.
The vast majority of this audience, they have no loyalty to the WNBA. Their loyalty lies with Caitlyn Clark, and that loyalty, it is not guaranteed to extend to the rest of this putrid league.
This is the critical misstep they've been insulated from because Caitlyn's numbers are so high. The WNBA and its players have been able to take the media spotlight and puff out their chests. But with Caitlyn's absence, even though Fever fans have kept supporting the team overall, there are still warning signs. I mean, just look at this.
Betting interest on Indiana Fever games dropped by as much as 50% last week at sportsbooks with star guard Caitlyn Clark out.
This is an example of a dip in discretionary spending and enthusiasm from casual sports fans. While we've seen ratings stay strong for Fever games and remain stagnant for other teams, we need to remember that watching a game is free. When ticket prices start dropping and fans stop investing time and money in the league, then you've got a big problem. And we're starting to see it. Paige isn't moving the needle. And while Angel's getting attention, it's her lowlight compilations that are dominating social media.
You gotta check this out! 3, 2, 1, bang!
This is negative yards because it's hurting the perception of the women's game. Even after just a few games, the league should notice the trend. When Caitlyn's out, the league stalls. That's not what's going to get you a CBA home run. That's not what's going to bring in high-priced advertisers. And now there's this.
If things just go as they were, and we have expanded season of 22 home games with modest inflation, I'm looking at $875 million, Brewers said to NBC News about Clark's potential monetary value for this season.
It's come out that Caitlyn is likely worth more than $1 billion in revenue to the league. That is 100% tied to her. If she was injured long-term, that would be as good as gone. Now here's how all of this relates to her injury and how it may improve things for Caitlyn. The league finally got their microdose of pain. Their sample size, they've seen the dips. If they're smart, they know it would only get worse with an extended absence. A year off would be devastating, especially in a CBA year. This glimpse into a bleak, non-Caitlyn future was necessary for the league, and only possible through an injury. It's time to wake up, stop fighting with her fans, and protect their star. That also means fixing the refereeing, which has been mocked mercilessly online.
The WNBA, no ifs, ands, or buts about it, has a severe refereeing problem.
They need casual fans, and that requires a healthy Caitlyn. This injury may have been the wake-up call that finally forces them to treat Caitlyn like the star she is. All of this is good stuff for Caitlyn, but here's the big win for her and all of us. I don't think we've seen a fully healthy Caitlyn Clark this season. Sure, the quad strain was called a new injury, but she's likely been managing pain in that same leg since preseason.
It kind of makes sense. She wasn't moving that well. It's kind of obvious Caitlyn Clark was playing hurt. She looked slower. There wasn't as much lift.
There's a real chance she's been gutting it out since day one. And still, she was dropping all-star numbers, clutch threes, viral moments. But the only way she was ever going to fully heal was by being forced to sit. And now, just imagine, a healthy Caitlyn. A team that's found its speed and has the personnel to take the load off Caitlyn without disrupting the team's flow. And last but not least, a league that finally understands what's at stake for the growth of their game. This wasn't just an injury, it was a timeout for everyone. And her return could be the spark that resets everything. For her, for the Fever, and for the WNBA. The ratings will be off the charts. We just got a glimpse of a future without her. And it's not pretty. But we also saw just how contagious her popularity is. It has already spread to the Fever, and it can spread to the league, if it's nurtured right. Hopefully, we'll look back on this moment like those other great sports turning points, the kind that look like bad luck, until they turn into history. If you're still here, drop a goat in the comments to let me know. I appreciate you watching. See you next time.